Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 1 hour, India commissions its second indigenously made nuclear-powered submarine INS Arighaat at Visakhapatnam. Defence Minister says it will further strengthen India's nuclear triad, enhancing nuclear deterrence. India hands over the letter of intent to the University of Southampton to establish a campus in the country. External Affairs Minister says such endeavours will make the youth world ready. Support pour-ins for Telegram CEO Pavel Durov from Russia and UAE. Russia says his case should not turn into political persecution. UAE responds angrily, says in contact with French authorities. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer meets French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris to strengthen ties with the European allies. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan meets Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing, raises concerns about China's protectionist policies. Democrat Kamala Harris is leading over Republican Donald Trump 45% to 41% in a Reuters Ipsos poll published on Thursday that showed the vice president sparking new enthusiasm among voters and shaking up the race ahead of the November 5th election in the United States. The 4 percentage point advantage among registered voters was wider than a 1-point lead Harris held over former president in a late July Reuters Ipsos poll. The new poll, which was conducted in 8 days, ended Wednesday and had a 2 percentage point margin of error, showed Harris picking up support among women and Hispanics. Harris led Trump by 49% to 36%, or a 13 percentage points among both women voters and Hispanic voters. Trump led among white voters and men, both by similar margins as in July, though his lead among voters without a college degree narrowed to 7 points in the latest survey. And to talk more about that, I'm joined by Kate Fisher from Washington, D.C. Kate, how substantial is this 4% lead, considering that there is a 2% margin of error, and she has the big night of inquisition coming up tonight?
You're right, she does. It will be the first time that we've heard her sit down for an interview with a journalist since she took on this, nominee for the Democrats for president. That, however, could help these poll numbers grow or indeed diminish if that performance doesn't go as hoped, although she is riding this wave of momentum at the moment, which suggests that she is in a good spot. In terms of how important this is, yes, it is still very close within the margin of error, which essentially means that Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are still neck and neck. This is still a nail biter, but crucially, she's really closed the gap on where Joe Biden was and even where she was before the convention. So although they are still very much equal, she has the momentum and is gaining ground on those poll numbers. Even though she is not clearly ahead, she has made up that difference, which no doubt will be worrying for the Republican Party and Donald Trump's campaign team. But also Kamala Harris's team will know that despite all the momentum they have, they still haven't pushed her above Donald Trump, so they also know they have a lot of work to do.
Okay. And how significant is this shift in the key demographic groups which are traditionally seen as Democratic voters, like women, black voters or colored voters, Hispanics? How significant is that shift?
I think it's really significant. You mentioned there at the beginning that there is now a 13% lead for Kamala Harris in female voters and Hispanic voters, both groups that she really will need if she is to beat Donald Trump. He, though, is doing very well with white men, which is a group that she is struggling to attract voters for. But I think that is a huge jump of 13%, shows that those demographics could really help her to put her over the line, because this election is going to be won on the margins. It's not going to be won. The people who love Donald Trump will love him whatever. People who love the Democrats will love them whatever. It's these moderates, these undecideds, the independents, the people in the middle that they need to attract. And a lot of them are women who don't always necessarily go out and vote, but if they are motivated by a candidate they see who represents them instead of two old white men, which was the option when Joe Biden was still in the race, then that may get them out of their house and to the voting booth. So it is significant as well, this Hispanic vote. If she can keep building on the momentum of these demographics, it's really going to help her. But it's also important to remember that this election will be won in just a handful of swing states, 7 states really, and it's the voters in those states that these two candidates really need to appeal to. But one of those is Nevada, for example, with a huge Hispanic population. So growth in these areas is going to help her in those swing states as well. Important to remember, though, that Donald Trump is also doing well with white men.
True. Kate Fisher, many thanks. We'll have to see how this pans out, especially her interview tonight. Thank you very much for joining. Moving on, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer met with French President Emmanuel Macron. French President Macron pledged to deepen ties with Great Britain over defence and security, as well as migration and energy, following a meeting with Starmer in Paris. Both leaders also discussed the need to de-escalate the situation in the Middle East, reiterating their call for an immediate ceasefire, and agreed that it was essential to keep supporting Ukraine to guarantee the defense and security of the country and that of the continent as a whole.
Obviously, I had a bilateral with the President whilst I'm here to discuss a number of issues. Obviously, there are foreign policy issues which are pressing, so we discussed the situation in Ukraine, as you would expect, situation in the Middle East, bilateral issues in terms of trade and defence and security, but also the wider reset that I want in relation to our relations, not just with France, but with the EU in general. So they were the topics that we discussed as part of the reset rebuild.
And for more on that story, I'm joined by Stuart Smith in London. Stuart, in what respect is this meeting important?
For the UK, it's important because, as the Labour Party have said numerous times, the relationship between London and Brussels became incredibly fractious over the past 13 years of Conservative government, but also notably since Brexit. There was always scepticism about the European Union in the Conservative Party, but Brexit and the way that was handled really made ties between the EU and the UK very, very cold. The Labour Party, straddling throughout the Brexit debate, not really deciding either way whether it was remain or wanting to leave, managed to eventually, it seems in power, convince people that that was a done issue. Now what it's trying to do is say that it can create a practical working relationship with Europe without being in the European Union. So what that means, Keir Starmer is saying, is working with France and Germany directly, bilaterally, not through the mechanisms of the EU, in order to deal with issues that affect Europe. So that could include energy security, interconnectors between the UK and the rest of mainland Europe. It includes defence, particularly support for Ukraine, but also defending Europe more broadly. And it includes migration, something that's very important to the UK, especially at the moment with the smuggling gangs, as Prime Minister Keir Starmer says, taking advantage of people's desperation to get from the continent to the UK. It's something he needs France's help with in particular to counter, and that's one of the things he was discussing with the French President Emmanuel Macron earlier.
Stuart Smith, many thanks for joining us for the moment. Thank you. 3 people died as Typhoon Shanshan brought powerful winds and heavy rainfall to southwest Japan on Thursday. Authorities asked residents to leave their homes in response to warnings of a potentially catastrophic flooding and landslides.
Japan's strongest typhoon of the year has made landfall in the country's southwest, bringing torrential rain and winds of up to 250 kilometers per hour, strong enough to destroy homes. At least 3 people have been killed so far and 1 remains missing, and scores injured in what authorities have warned could be one of the strongest ever storms to hit the region. Millions of people were ordered to evacuate their homes as Typhoon Shanshan made landfall on the island of Kyushu on Thursday morning, knocking out power, snarling air traffic and forcing major factories to close. Residents in at-risk areas have been urged to remain on high alert, with transport operators and airlines cancelling trains and flights. After hovering over Kyushu for the next few days, Typhoon Shanshan is expected to approach the central and eastern regions, including the capital Tokyo, around the weekend. Authorities are trying to assess the state of damage and implement emergency disaster response measures. With the rise in intensity of typhoons in Asia over the past month, the World Weather Attribution has warned that climate change has made them worse and that warmer seas in Asia add extra fuel to the tropical storms. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India correspondent Chris Gilbert sent us this report from Tokyo on Typhoon Shanshan.
After slowly approaching Japan for days, Typhoon Shanshan hit the southwestern coast of the western island of Kyushu with a thud on Thursday. It's one of the most powerful typhoons that Japan has seen on record, and it brought with it rainfall, more rainfall than most cities in Kyushu see in an average August. And for Oita Prefecture in Kyushu, that meant that 25,000 people were given forced evacuation orders, not recommendations, forced evacuation orders to find high ground or to leave their house to safer buildings as many rivers in the region burst their banks. It also brought wind gusts of up to 250 kilometers an hour, and this hit Miyazaki City on the east of Kyushu the hardest. Many buildings there had their roofs ripped off, walls damaged as well. About 160 reports of damaged property came in throughout Thursday. It also resulted in many dozens of injuries, including 22 people who were injured when windows exploded onto them due to the extremely high winds. There has been disruption to local businesses. Convenience stores and supermarkets have been closed throughout the island, and the effects of the storm are spreading throughout Japan. Even though the typhoon itself is moving at a very slow pace, the warm air from it is creating rain and deluges for parts of the country hundreds of kilometers away from it, including in Aichi Prefecture in the middle of Japan, where there was a landslide that hit a house with 5 occupants, and that resulted in 2 of them being rescued, but also the 3 fatalities that this typhoon has brought so far. It's also disrupted travel. Many roads in Kyushu have been blocked by fallen trees and debris. About 600 flights have been suspended or cancelled, affecting about 33,000 passengers. Bullet trains throughout the country have been affected throughout Thursday and are going to be into Friday as this typhoon very slowly inches its way onto the main island of Japan. It is looking like it is going to continue up to the major cities of Osaka and Tokyo towards the weekend. By that time, the forecast is for it to be downgraded to a tropical storm, but authorities are urging vigilance because the danger is not over yet for anyone in Japan. Chris Gilbert in Tokyo, reporting for DD India.
And still to come up on DD India News Hour, Ukraine urges EU allies to expedite deliveries of promised air defense systems. Indian Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of Vadhavan port in Maharashtra.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Amritpal Singh. Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, arrested at a Paris airport on Saturday, has been granted bail under conditions including a $5.6 million payment and regular police reporting. The messenger service, having nearly 1 billion users, is at the center of the discussion as Pavel's arrest sparked debate over freedom of speech, tech companies' responsibility and data control. Meanwhile, Russia has expressed shock, calling for the case not to become political persecution.
Telegram CEO Pavel Durov, who made headlines after being arrested on Saturday at a Paris airport, has been granted bail under conditions including $5.6 million payment, reporting to police twice a week, and remaining in France. Pavel Durov's arrest has sparked debate about the balance between freedom of speech and law enforcement, as well as the responsibility of tech companies for social media content.
It is totally absurd to think that the head of a social network would be involved in criminal acts. Telegram complies in all respects with European rules concerning digital technology.
Meanwhile, Russia expressed shock at the arrest and now said Pavel Durov's case should not turn into political persecution.
I don't think we should continue making any judgments now. We have already said that he is a French citizen. He has everything needed to organize his legal defense. We of course consider him as a Russian citizen, and if necessary, to the extent of our capabilities, we will be ready to assist as we would any Russian citizen. The main thing is that what is happening in France does not turn into political persecution.
People in Moscow view Pavel Durov's arrest as a lesson for him and also as a part of an international feud over data control.
Possibly to some extent, Durov was right that he did not want to give the decryption keys to either side. But at the end of the day, now he is in such a situation when he's going to have to give those keys to our enemy countries. Basically, by not giving them to Russia, he will give them to Europe.
Durov is a Russian-born dual citizen of France and UAE. It is not known if he retains Russian citizenship or has renounced it, but UAE has responded angrily to his arrest, saying it is in contact with French authorities and representatives of the Telegram CEO. Bureau Report, DD India.
And DD India's Ross Cullen joins us from Paris on that. Ross, now that Durov has been released from custody, what follows next? Would the French authorities charge him?
So he was released from custody after having been charged. Let's make sure that that's clear, that he was charged in relation to a list of crimes, including complicity and failure to curb extremist material online, which he denies. So he was released from custody only on the payment of a $5 million bail, only with the conditions that he agreed to attend a police station twice a week and not to leave French territory. Now, we have heard from his lawyer, David Olivier Kaminsky, Mr. Durov's lawyer, who's been saying that, quote, it's totally absurd to think that the head of a social network could be involved in criminal acts that do not concern him, neither directly nor indirectly. And the lawyer for Mr. Durov has also been backing up that statement we received a few days ago from Telegram itself, saying that Telegram complies in all respects with European rules concerning digital technology. It is a moderator in the same standards as other social networks. So really dialing down on that in terms of this side from Mr. Durov and his lawyers and Telegram, who do believe that this is absurd, there's nothing to hide, there is no case here. Mr. Durov denies all the allegations. French prosecutors certainly believe there is a case to answer. His allegations that not enough has been done by Telegram, not enough has been done by Mr. Durov to try to curb extremist material, curb terrorist material, curb the online sexual exploitation of children, drug trafficking, fraud and cyberbullying, all the things that French authorities say are taking place on Telegram, all the things that French authorities say Mr. Durov has not taken seriously enough.
Okay. So you're saying the case goes to trial now and he has to stay in France till the trial is over?
No, there's no trial yet. He has been placed under formal investigation. This could still go away. He could still be released. There's no date set for a trial. There's no guarantee that this will go to a trial. But he has had this formal, been placed under formal investigation. So that means that certain things he cannot leave the country, has to pay bail, has to go and see the police throughout the week regularly to make sure he's checking in. And we've now had some responses coming through from his lawyers, from the United Arab Emirates, because he is an Emirati citizen, along with being a citizen of several other countries, including France. He obtained nationality here in 2021. So that's the situation at the moment. So we know that Mr. Durov has been released on bail.
All right. Russ Cullen, many thanks for joining us from Paris and giving us that update. And U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on Thursday. He was on a 3-day visit to Beijing for a wide-ranging talks aimed at easing tensions between the U.S. and China ahead of November's U.S. elections. Sullivan told Xi that U.S. President Biden was committed to managing the relationship to avoid conflict and looks forward to engaging with you in the coming weeks, unquote. Sullivan's agenda included tensions over Taiwan, the South China Sea and Russia, and the U.S. demands for more Chinese help to stem the flow of ingredients for fentanyl, the leading cause of drug overdoses in the United States.
President Biden is committed to responsibly managing this consequential relationship to ensure that competition does not veer into conflict or confrontation, and to work together where our interests align. We are committed to maintaining high-level diplomacy, and to this end, President Biden looks forward to engaging with you again in the coming weeks.
And Sullivan told reporters in Beijing that the U.S. is concerned about China's actions against the Philippines' lawful maritime practices in the South China Sea. And they had a vigorous give and take on the issues of economic security.
We believe that the order of the day should be de-escalation, and we support direct discussions between the Philippines and the PRC to that end. We also have made very clear that our mutual defense treaty applies to public vessels, including Coast Guard vessels that are operating in the South China Sea and in other waters. And I also raised our concerns about steps that the PRC has taken with respect to the intersection of economics and national security and the impact that that has had on Western businesses and on supply chains.
Ukraine shot down 2 missiles and 60 drones over 9 regions after Russia stepped up its assault on Ukraine's energy infrastructure earlier this week. About 15 drones were launched by Russia in its third attack on the Ukrainian capital in 4 days, but they did not reach their targets. Ukraine said Russian attacks on power sector pose risk to nuclear facilities. Here's a report.
As the Russia-Ukraine conflict entered its 916th day on Thursday, Ukraine shot down 2 missiles and 60 drones over 9 regions in an overnight attack after Russia stepped up its retaliatory attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure earlier this week. On Thursday, Ukraine destroyed 60 out of 74 Russia-launched attack drones and 2 out of 5 missiles. The Air Force said it lost track of 14 more drones which likely fell on Ukrainian territory. According to Kyiv's military administration, about 15 drones launched by Russia in its third attack on Kyiv in 4 days did not reach their targets. On the other hand, Russian forces captured 2 villages in eastern Ukraine, Stelmakivka in Luhansk region and Mykolaiivka in Donetsk region. Russian state-run TASS news agency, citing the Russian Ministry of Defense, said its forces had taken control of the settlement of Komishivka in Ukraine's Donetsk region. Meanwhile, Russia has opened a criminal case against former Deputy Defense Minister Pavel Popov on suspicion of fraud. According to State Investigative Committee, the charge is connected to the construction of a military-focused theme park in the Moscow region. As the conflict rages on, European Union foreign affairs ministers met in Brussels on Thursday for informal talks focusing on conflicts in Ukraine and Gaza. The meeting is being held in Brussels rather than the originally planned venue of Budapest in protest of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in early July. Bureau Report, DD India.
And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting India's financial capital Mumbai on Friday and will deliver a keynote address at the 5th edition of the Global FinTech Fest. DD India's Shama Mishra reports from Mumbai.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting India's financial capital Mumbai on Friday and will deliver the keynote address at the 5th edition of Global FinTech Fest. It is being jointly organized by the Payments Council of India, the National Payments Corporation of India and the FinTech Convergence Council. PM will also be visiting booths on display at the exhibition hall. There are around 300 plus exhibitors displaying their services and products related to FinTech solutions. The 3-day fest, which started on August 28, is one of the largest FinTech conferences. This year, the Global FinTech Fest is designed around the theme Blueprint for the Next Decade of Finance, Responsible AI, Inclusive, Resilient. India being one of the fastest growing FinTech markets in the world. This conference assembles the leading minds in global FinTech to surge ahead, ensuring inclusive and sustainable growth.
And learn a lot about UPI, how it was built, how it was done, what are the objectives, and the success that it's had, particularly in bringing more formalization to the business sector by having lots of small merchants suddenly connected to this larger payment system. So it's been a pleasure, and then I love hearing how fintechs are going to improve, expand, and deliver greater service to everybody.
The focus is responsible AI, inclusivity, and resilience, and it highlights the commitment to building a responsible financial ecosystem that can adapt to and thrive amid global challenges. Global FinTech Fest 2024 is presented by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Ministry of External Affairs, Department of Financial Services, Reserve Bank of India, and International Financial Services Centres Authority.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been an advocate of Digital India. In his Mumbai visit, it is expected that the Prime Minister will reiterate the need for stronger DPI, further revolutionize the FinTech solutions, and also on his vision of making Mumbai the FinTech capital of the world. Shama Mishra, DD News, Mumbai. Shama Mishra, DD India, Mumbai.
Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of India's largest port project at Wadhwan in the Palghar district in western India's Maharashtra. More in this report.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay the foundation stone of India's largest port project at Wadhwan near Dahanu in Palghar district of Maharashtra. This port will boost economic activity and open new avenues for international trade. The project cost of Rs 76,220 crores includes development of major infrastructure, terminals and other commercial infrastructure. It will be developed in public-private partnership mode as an all-weather, greenfield, deep draft major port.
There are 2-3 aspects which are very unique to this project. The first and most important aspect is that there is a huge demand and supply gap will be in 2030 for the EXIM trade for the containers, and this gap will be fulfilled by this particular project.
The project has the potential to create around 12 lakh jobs. Local communities expect an uptick in employment and other opportunities for them once the work commences.
I feel this project is going to be a mega boost in the financial and infrastructure boost for the progress of the Palghar district, and it is going to be on the maps of major international front, and it is going to improve connectivity to the outside world.
Vadhavan port will be in proximity of hinterland clusters, including the upcoming dedicated freight corridors and Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor. The port can serve as a gateway for the upcoming India-Middle East-Europe corridor and the international North-South transportation corridor.
This Vadhavan port is going to be a very game-changer project in recent times. Obviously, a lot of investments is involved in it, but at the same time, it's going to give job opportunity to millions and lakhs of people. Well, that's the reason this Vadhavan port is going to be one of the important destinations on the international map. Shri for DD India, Vadhavan, Palghar.
And still to come up on DD India News Hour, discussion with an expert on India's second Arihant-class submarine, INS Arighaat, that was commissioned into the Indian Navy on Thursday. India's second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine INS Arighaat was commissioned into the Indian Navy on Thursday at Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. The submarine, an upgraded version of INS Arihant, represents a major step forward in India's naval capabilities and strategic nuclear deterrence.
INS Arighaat, India's second nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine, was commissioned into the Indian Navy on Thursday. The commissioning ceremony took place at the Eastern Naval Command of the Indian Navy at Visakhapatnam. The commissioning was done in the presence of the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. The submarine, which will function under India's Strategic Command, marks an important milestone in India's nuclear submarine program, enhancing India's naval capabilities and strategic nuclear deterrence. Speaking at the commissioning ceremony of the vessel, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said, Arighaat will further strengthen India's nuclear triad, enhance nuclear deterrence, establish strategic balance and peace, and play a decisive role in the country's security. INS Arighaat is India's second indigenously built nuclear submarine. Arighaat is an Arihant-class submarine. Arighaat means destroyer of the enemy. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh said Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government is working on mission mode to equip soldiers with top-quality weapons and platforms. While the commissioning of INS Arighaat, which is upgraded, is a significant step in strengthening India's maritime border, it is also a major milestone in realizing the dream of a self-reliant India in the defence sector. Bureau Report, DD India.
And to talk about that, I'm joined by Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Vice Admiral retired Shekhar Sinha. He's a former chief of the Integrated Defence Staff. Good evening, Admiral Sinha. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. What does Arighaat bring to the table when it comes to India's maritime capabilities?
Well, good evening, namaskar to your viewers, and thank you, Paul, for getting me on your program. It's been a long time. India has a no first use policy as far as nuclear weapon is concerned. And therefore, it becomes absolutely incumbent on our part that we should have something to hit back if you are being hit first. We may be having a no first use policy, but the other countries may not have, particularly our Western neighbor does not have the no first use policy. So it is quite possible that in the first use, the nuclear weapon from the enemy, from the adversary, could come and hit some places from where, we may not be able to revert back, give them back in the same point. And therefore, this is what is called the triad of the nuclear, second strike capability, meaning that you can also launch it from ground, you can launch it from aircraft, but the safest and most healthy is the one to be launched by submarine, because you don't know where is the submarine, where will the second strike come from. So this has really added to the value, strategic value. We already have one. This is the second one, just a little bit more, but I would roughly say 6,000 tons. Almost same number of missile. It's the same missile which is being carried here, and same number of torpedo tubes. But there is also a provision that in case the longer range missile becomes available, then it should be able to carry that long range missile. So I think that, having a second, second strike capability and second submarine, it's a big thing for our country, because it gives you a little bit of leeway that in case one of the submarines is due for some servicing or it is in harbor, the second one can remain on task. And as far as the missile ranges are concerned, Amrit, you can fire from anywhere, it will hit anybody, any country. So that way we are quite safe. Amrit.
You say you can fire from anywhere, you can hit anybody. What is the range that we are talking about here, Admiral?
Well, I believe what I see in the newspapers, etc., that, the one we have in Arighaat is 750 kilometers. That's what I am told. And possibly the next lot of missiles which will come, the firing, the trials have already been done. If you recall, we had the submerged firing trial of the equivalent of an Agni 5 missile, which has the range anything between 3,500 kilometers to 5,000 kilometers. So if that missile is being put in this, if it is a provision and that missile can be fitted, then you're looking at a very, very long range, Amrit.
Okay. So how far in the sea can you take your submarine? Because it's nuclear powered, it can stay, under the sea for as long, for months. It only only the naval personnel need to come up for rations, etc. Otherwise, it can stay. So, is your key concern, that's your northern neighbor, is where especially in the IOR and Indo-Pacific region, does it give you capability there?
Oh, very much. In fact, if you look at our diameter of our the sea, if you stand in southern tip of India and you look left and right, the Gulf of Aden is about 1,600 kilometers, and so is the Straits of Malacca. So we are talking about a full diameter of 3,000 kilometers, and you can have the submarine on one end of the Indian Ocean, and it can still go and hit the adversary in their heartland. So I think it's a very big caliber, and it is primarily meant not to have a nuclear war of it, because they're very devastating. Having a second strike capability is a deterrence that nobody dare do the first strike on you. Otherwise, the results can be very, the response can be absolutely devastating. It can destroy many cities, can destroy many people. So I think it acts more as a deterrence to prevent a nuclear war than to have a nuclear war. Amrit.
All right. Admiral Shekhar Sinha, many thanks for joining us. That's all the time we have for, but always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And the University of Southampton has become the first UK university to receive a license from the Indian government to establish a comprehensive campus in the country. It will focus on delivering education, research, knowledge exchange and enterprise activities in India. The new campus will enhance these connections by boosting research collaboration and impact expanding teaching partnerships, facilitating two-way student and staff mobility and fostering local civic and community engagement. Speaking at an event in New Delhi, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that India's National Education Policy 2020 is a vision for the future of education in India.
NEP 2020 is more than just a policy. It is, in fact, a vision for the future of education in India, one that aspires to elevate our standards to the highest global levels. It aims to make India a hub of excellence, attracting students from around the world, setting up foreign university campuses, and fostering global competencies among our students and our faculty. The initiative will help establish a strong international footprint of brand India in the education sphere.
The minister also emphasized that this event is a testament to the strong and multifaceted bilateral ties between India and the United Kingdom, of which education is an important pillar.
Today's event is also a testament to the strong and multifaceted bilateral ties between India and the United Kingdom, of which education is a particularly important pillar. At the heart of this progress lies the National Education Policy 2020, NEP 2020, which the earlier speakers have talked about. It is a policy which champions internationalization and aims to position India as a global player in education.
And India's UGC has granted permission to UK's University of Southampton to set up a campus in India. Jessica Taneja spoke with the Deputy High Commissioner, the Vice President of the University of Southampton and Director of the British Council. Listen in.
One of the Russell Group universities of United Kingdom, the University of Southampton, will set up a campus in Greater Delhi soon. And to talk more about this, we're joined by the Vice President of the University of Southampton, Andrew Atherton. Also joining us is the Acting British High Commissioner with us, Christina Scott, and also the Director of British Council, Alison Barrett. How important is it for you in terms of collaborating on initiatives like this?
So for the students themselves, they'll get exactly the same degree here as they would do in Southampton, so it's exactly the same. For us, I think we're beginning to change the way that we look at universities and how universities operate. And so, whereas maybe the traditional model was that the students would come to the university, now in the next stage of development of universities, we very much are seeing the universities going to the student. And of course, India has some of the most talented students in the world, and it has a huge amount of demand.
Education is really at the heart of our broad and comprehensive relationship with India. And today is a really exciting day because it's the first time that we will have a UK university investing in bricks and mortar here in India. So it's a massive achievement by the university and by their collaborators here, the British Council, but also, of course, the Government of India.
It's a huge Herculean effort on behalf of the University of Southampton, the Government of India, the University Grants Commission. We've been very fortunate that the University of Southampton team are incredibly experienced. They've done this before and they really understand what goes into creating a world-class institution in another country. So we've really played a supporting role, helping them understand and navigate the local landscape and make sure that the decisions that they make are, based on some of that local knowledge.
India's Minister of State for External Affairs, Pabitra Margarita, addressed Pacific Islands Forum. The minister reaffirmed New Delhi's strong commitment to work with Pacific partner nations for sustainable development. The minister announced that India will undertake one quick impact project of each country's choice worth $50,000 in each of the 14 Pacific Island countries. India's minister said that India's multifaceted engagement with the Blue Pacific continent is anchored in India's Act East policy and is strengthened by both bilaterally and through different mechanisms such as the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation. The 31st meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs was held on the 29th of August, that's Thursday, in Beijing. The two sides exchanged views on the situation along the line of actual control to narrow down differences. Both sides further agreed for intensified contact through diplomatic military channels. The two sides decided to jointly uphold peace and tranquility on the ground in border areas. And the leader of the Indian delegation called on the Vice Minister in the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Good news for the Indian economy as global rating agency Moody's raised India's growth projection for 2024 and 2025, citing signs of improving rural demand, while Fitch affirmed the country's sovereign credit rating. Moody now expects India's economy to expand by 7.2% in 2024 from 6.8% previously, while growth for 2025 is pegged at 6.6% versus 6.4%. The agency noted that both industrial and services sectors have demonstrated strong performance, with the services PMI consistently above 60 since the start of the year. The agency also said that it expects the capex cycle to gain more steam amid rising capacity utilization, upbeat business sentiment, and the government's continued thrust on infrastructure spending. Meanwhile, Fitch affirmed India's long-term foreign currency issuer rating at the BBB with a stable outlook, citing strong medium-term growth outlook. The agency said the growth outlook will continue to drive improvement in structural aspects of credit profile, including India's share of the GDP in the global economy, as well as its solid external finance position. The world is grappling with extreme weather conditions. North India has witnessed heavy to very heavy rainfall. In Gujarat, the Chief Minister of the state held a meeting and also did an aerial survey regarding the damage caused due to heavy rains in Jamnagar and Devbhoomi Dwarka, Khambhalia areas. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with the Chief Minister of the state to take stock of the situation.
The world is grappling with extreme weather conditions, from devastating floods to intense heat waves to wildfires. In India, heavy to very heavy rainfall is being witnessed in western state of Gujarat and extremely heavy rainfall in Saurashtra and Kutch districts. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke again with the Chief Minister to take stock of the situation. The road connecting Padna Patia to Chang Patia in Jamnagar was closed and the portion of the small bridge over Sir P.N. Road washed away due to flooding. The movement of traffic was also affected.
कल के लिए जहां पर वेरी हेवी रेनफॉल की वार्निंग है वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट है जामनगर, पोरबंदर, मोरबी, द्वारका और कच्छ डिस्ट्रिक्ट हैं, और इसके अलावा जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट हैं जहां पर हेवी रेनफॉल की वार्निंग है वो डिस्ट्रिक्ट है जूनागढ़, राजकोट और मोरबी डिस्ट्रिक्ट शामिल है.
In India's national capital, several parts of Delhi witnessed waterlogging following overnight heavy rainfall that continued even on Thursday morning. The water level of river Ganga has risen significantly due to heavy rainfall. In Prayagraj, the Sangam bank has been submerged due to severe waterlogging following recent heavy rains. In southern state of Karnataka's Kalaburagi region, Deval Gannagapur village bridge has submerged after water levels rises in the Bhima river. Rain also triggered flash floods in the neighboring Pakistani port city of Karachi, causing power outages. Pakistani authorities have also warned of flash floods in two districts of the southern province of Sindh, which is still recovering from the massive floods of 2022, which inundated large swathes of the country and damaged the economy. In Sudan, people residing in the flood-stricken Tokar city of the Red Sea state have fled with what's left of their belongings and animals. People were seen walking on the road, on donkeys and donkey-driven carts with their goats and camels. Several European countries have been afflicted by wildfires this summer, which experts say are driven by rising temperatures caused by climate change. Large wildfires tore through a mountainous region on Tuesday and Wednesday in Zvornica, Croatia. In Bolivia's lowland region of Santa Cruz, farmers packed up their belongings in a bid to escape rapidly approaching fires that are among the worst the country has seen. The Southern Hemisphere nation has recorded the largest number of outbreaks of wildfires in 14 years. Bureau Report, DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for some news from the world of sports. India is celebrating its National Sports Day in honor of Major Dhyan Chand, the legendary hockey player whose unparalleled skills made him a global icon in the sport. He's also known as hockey's wizard. His legacy extends far beyond India, earning him admiration and respect across the world for his extraordinary techniques on the field. Here's a tribute to the global icon.
आज सौभाग्य की बात है कि हमारे स्टूडियो में मौजूद हैं मेजर ध्यानचंद।
फॉरेन कंट्री जो हॉकी सीखी है उसमें शक नहीं है कि हिंदुस्तान के जरिए सीखी है। उन लोगों ने इतनी ज़्यादा प्रैक्टिस कर ली कि हम अब हिंदुस्तान का मुकाबला करने लगे। मैंने देखा है रिसेंटली यूरोप कंट्री के खेलों को कि वो हमारे मुकाबले में थोड़ा थोड़ा ड्रिबलिंग करने लगे हैं बजाय मारने के। अभी ड्रिबलिंग ही शुरू कर दिया।
जी हाँ, काफ़ी इम्प्रूवमेंट्स हैं उनके।
It's the army, British army, for entertainment and recreation. They used to play the sport of hockey. That's how modern hockey came into India. So somehow Doordarshan got into that hockey team. When he played, he was supposed to play against his bosses, colonels and all other people. So his first aim is not to hurt them.
ध्यानचंद के बारे में कहा जाता था कि वो बिल्कुल चेस की तरह हॉकी के मैदान को देखते थे। उनको पता होता था कि उनका खिलाड़ी किस जगह पर है और वो ब्लाइंड फोल्ड, अगर आप उनकी आंखों पर पट्टी भी बांध दें तो वो एक ऐसी जगह पास करते थे जहां खिलाड़ी मौजूद, बिल्कुल पिन पॉइंट उसी जगह पर गेंद रुकती थी। तो ये प्रेसिशन था।
When he played in America, they thought probably there was some magic in his hockey stick, and they even changed his sticks.
What Doordarshan was playing in his times was nothing but what we are playing nowadays.
Magic man, like Don Bradman in cricket. Hockey was in his blood. Hockey was in his thought. Hockey was in his action.
People say he had some electric power. No, he visualized you should not hold the ball.
Much before Sachin Tendulkar, Roger Federer, Michael Jordan, Senna, Muhammad Ali, Pele, there was Doordarshan.
India's Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Dr. Mansukh Mandviya, launched the Retired Sportsperson Empowerment Training or RESET program on the occasion of the National Sports Day. The minister said that RESET program is aimed at empowering retired sportspersons who brought immense laurels to the nation.
मैं मानता हूं कि ऐसे कार्यक्रम से हमारे निवृत्त खिलाड़ियों में जो कौशल्य है, जो स्किल है, उसकी क्षमता है, उसका न्यू जनरेशन को फायदा होगा। देश के कई नए खिलाड़ी को निर्माण करने में उसकी भूमिका रहेगी और ये स्वयं सेट हो जाएंगे और राष्ट्र निर्माण में सहयोग करते रहेंगे। इसलिए रिसेट प्रोग्राम का आज स्पोर्ट्स मिनिस्ट्री के द्वारा प्रारंभ हो रहा है। सभी स्पोर्ट्स के साथ जुड़े हुए निवृत्त खिलाड़ियों को मैं इस योजना में शामिल होने के लिए आह्वान करता हूं।
Dhyan Foundation also celebrated India's National Sports Day at the Major Dhyan Chand National Stadium in New Delhi to celebrate the awardee and the wizard of hockey, Major Dhyan Chand. The former Indian hockey player and the 1964 Olympic gold medalist Harbinder Singh Chimney was present on the occasion to pay his tributes to Major Dhyan Chand. Speaking to DD India, Chimney said that young athletes should draw inspiration from Major Dhyan Chand.
दादा ध्यानचंद जी अगर कहें तो मेरे ख्याल ऐसे खिलाड़ी बहुत कम पैदा होते हैं और उनका नाम सिर्फ भारत में नहीं पूरे वर्ल्ड में जाना जाता है। 3 ओलंपिक में गोल्ड मेडल उन्होंने और उनकी टीम ने जो जीते और हैट्रिक की और जो परिस्थितियाँ उस वक्त होती थी खेलने की बड़ा आसान नहीं था, बड़ा मुश्किल था। ओलंपिक हम खेलने जा रहे हैं, जैसे लॉस एंजलिस में आप बाई शिप जा रहे हैं, पता नहीं कितना टाइम लगता था वहाँ पहुँचने के लिए। तो हमें जो हमारी यूथ है, जो हमारी जनरेशन आने वाले ओलंपिक में जो पार्टिसिपेट करेंगे उनको उनसे प्रेरित होना चाहिए कि अगर वो इतनी मुश्किल में खेल कर इतनी परिस्थितियों के जो उनके अनुकूल नहीं थे उसमें खेल कर उन्हें 3 गोल्ड मेडल जीते हैं, तो ये भी अब जो इतनी आसान परिस्थितियाँ पूरी गवर्नमेंट की हेल्प है और खेलने की पूरी फैसिलिटीज़ हैं, तो उसमें अगर वो मेहनत करेंगे तो वो भी आने वाले समय में ज़रूर गोल्ड मेडल जीत सकते हैं।
He indeed was a juggler like none other. The Noida International Airport is all slated to begin commercial operations from April next year. This airport, which will be the second airport for the Delhi NCR region, will not only ease traffic congestion at the Delhi airport, but is also expected to boost economic activity in the region. My colleague Devyendu Mondol files this report.
As India continues to expand its global footprint, the Noida International Airport is poised to become a game changer in civil aviation for India. Spanning over 5,000 hectares, the Noida International Airport will feature a terminal capable of handling 12 million passengers annually in its first phase. Once fully operational, the airport's capacity will increase to 70 million passengers per year. This ambitious project is designed to alleviate congestion at Delhi's Indira Gandhi International Airport, which is currently one of the busiest in the world.
We have an opportunity today to showcase the progress that we've made in the past 2 years of construction activities here at the Noida International Airport site. We're standing on a part of the apron that's been completed adjacent to the passenger terminal. Works are in full swing. Behind us, the runway, asphalt works, pavement works on the runway have been completed just 2 weeks ago. And we look forward now to calibration flights, to validation flights in the weeks ahead, validation flights for the approach for the departure procedures later this year.
Construction activities at the Noida International Airport are in full swing. Hundreds of workers are working round the clock to complete the project in time. The massive terminal building is being designed keeping the heritage and traditions of India and Uttar Pradesh in mind. This airport has completed the construction of the first 3.9-kilometer long runway, and the first calibration flight is expected to be completed by October this year, while the first commercial test flight to land and take off from the Noida International Airport is expected in December this year. Beyond its sheer scale, this airport will boast advanced facilities including a high-tech cargo hub, integrated rail and road connectivity, and a dedicated zone for aircraft maintenance, repair and overhaul. The airport's design emphasizes sustainability, incorporating green technologies and efficient energy use to minimize its environmental footprint.
We're very excited about the potential for air cargo. We entered into a partnership with Air India SATS last year to develop a multimodal cargo hub across 80 acres of the airport. And I think this is unique in India.
Economically, the airport is expected to create over 20,000 jobs and stimulate growth in the region by attracting international airlines and boosting tourism. It's anticipated that the new hub will significantly enhance India's connectivity with major global destinations. The construction of the Noida International Airport, which is in full swing as you can see behind me, is likely to be completed by April 2025. This is when we see the first commercial flight taking off from this airport. With camera person Piyush, this is Devyendu Mondol from Noida for DD India.
And that's it then in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. The app is available both on Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code you see right now on your screen to download. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amritpal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thank you for watching DD India News Hour.